Hey, hey, hey. Today I want to talk about the power of intention. Intention. This word has been heavy just on my mind and my thoughts, on my heart. And I want to talk about it as far how it has played a major role in my life. And I realized that intention kind of led back to my childhood. It led through my 20s, my 30s, and even to my current decade. And intention, typically, I feel like I know I used it in what's your intent with other people. Part of this journey or a big part of this platform is self. The curriculum is self, the study self, to know self, to communicate with self, to love self, to engage with self, and have self inquiry in a very deep way. Because for me, I was exposed to other people, their wellness, their health, their well being, and taught how to love and do all of these things externally. And I lacked a lot of internal guidance, a lot of internal love. And so this platform is really about self-love, self-esteem, and how we journey through our 20s, a very impactful and foundational decade. And I want to talk about intention, how I realized it played a major role because I was very intentional about many things in my life. And what is the plan? What is the purpose? What do you want the outcome to be for your life? What do you want the outcome to be for this decision? And I was talking to my mentor recently, and we were talking about, she was just saying it's the importance of having a plan in your life. And it is true, you need a plan. And I remember when I left home at 17, one thing I said I would never do. I wouldn't live with a person and pay bills intentionally. I never got a roommate. I lived a couple friends' couches. I lived with a boyfriend, but I never paid rent. We never got a place together. We actually were living with his parents. Very safe home, great family. But I was very intentional about not paying bills because I knew bills meant you're locked into more responsibility, and I didn't want that. I wanted to go to college. There are some things I really want to do. So I lived on some couches, but I never intentionally, I said I did not want bills, and I intentionally did not have kids. I didn't become a mother till later in my life because I knew the responsibility that came with having children. And I also saw what having kids looked like, and I didn't want that. I saw what it looked like to have, fathers that to me weren't responsible or didn't take care of their kids. I saw that in my family dynamics, and I did not want that for my personal life. So I was very intentional about these things. And I shared this with some young ladies recently. And I guess I've kind of been shy about sharing that or like feeling guilty, but I don't feel guilty. I was very intentional. Oftentimes, the things that I didn't want came from the people I saw making decisions that I just did not want my life to be like that. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I remember when I shared that with a young lady, she began to share and just talked about her family dynamics and how, yes, she looked around and there were just things she didn't want. So being intentional in our lives in different spaces is very important, whether it's our family dynamics, financially. I was intentional about when I started my weight loss journey. Unfortunately, obesity did impact my family. My grandparents, who I was very close to, the only grandparents that I was actually very close to at a young age, both of them died of obesity. So these things, although, I mean, it's just my life. It's my truth. And I was intentional, like, gosh, I want to be able to see my grandkids walk across the stage. I don't want my grandkids to lose me early. And while these are spaces that I actually honor my grandparents, it's not a place where I feel like I dishonor them by speaking about what happened, but it's my truth. And so I was just very intentional about different spaces in my life. And there's other areas that I wasn't intentional. And that's the self-awareness and things that I just did not have the education around. And I just chose to ignore feelings and anxiety and thoughts and patterns. But I would just want to tell you, just be very intentional about your life, especially in your 20s. And when I look back at an early age with friendships, I was very intentional about friends. I liked certain type of friends. I just did the ones that inspired me, that empowered me, that I could enjoy. I didn't really just like friends just to, I had several friends, and I actually think I had a lot of them, I guess, but they were still intentional about, I wanted to pray with someone, I knew the friend to call. If I want to go out to a party, I knew the friend to call. I just was intentional about my life and very purposeful, because I believe if I look back on my life, it's because there were several areas that were just given to me to do this, to be that. So when it came to choosing outside of those areas, I was just intentional because I was like, if I do this, I want it to mean something to me. And I believe that truly just was my journey, my path. So when I say intentional, very intentional about everything in your life, from the food that you eat, from the money you earn, the places you work, the people you talk to, the people you befriend, the people you call a friend, your associates, the spaces we go, they impact us more than we know. And when I look back over my life and connect the dots, I was very intentional about some things and some things I wasn't. But I would encourage you to really look around, look within, and choose your way through this thing called life, because everything matters. And our 20s is a very important decade. It's not again, I always talk about we're going to have that fun, we're going to plan the fun, but it is serious. My life is serious, your life is serious, our lives are serious. Itself, we impact our family, and we build community by who we choose to be. And who you choose to be is intentional. This is what I want, and don't water it down. Again, I will water some things down because I didn't necessarily come from, necessarily like, one may say traumatic background, but maybe not poverty, or maybe not experiencing, sexual abuse or things, but I definitely experienced some really, really hard traumatic things that impacted me spiritually, or how I saw myself as a spiritual being, or my emotions and attachment issues and self-esteem in a way of feeling value and worthy. So I just don't minimize your experience. Don't minimize things that you've done. I know I've done that. I would tell you, don't do that. Just because your life doesn't look like what I would say a poster child, or a life that doesn't look like struggle on the outside, we all have some struggles inside, and they are deeply rooted. And I know for me, it took a lot, and it's taking a lot to uproot myself in a lot of ways, and also appreciate my roots, but uproot some things. And this is intentional. Everything is intentional. Have a plan and a purpose for your life. A plan and a purpose was given to me at a very early age, and I didn't choose that route. And that is the most intentional thing that I could have ever done. Intentional about who I choose to have kids by, intentional about who I chose to marry, intentional about the food I put in my body, intentional about what I consume online. I love social media. I love these platforms, YouTube, all of these things. Intentional about consumption, intentional about the clothes that I wear, intentional about how I choose to show up, intentional about how I choose to parent. Be intentional. Your life is valuable. It's worthy. It is, you were here intentionally. Like, you have a purpose, and it's not so much of knowing everything about what you're supposed to be doing, but being intentional about what you are currently doing in this present moment. So practice being intentional in every way. You're here for a reason. We're here for a purpose. And I just want to remind you to be intentional about your life. Choose your way through this thing and enjoy every moment.